Ladies and gentlemen, friends, foes, and all you lovely bystanders, let me tell you a little story, a tale of expectations turned upside down, of plots twisted in ways they never saw coming. You see, they thought they had you figured out. They thought they could keep chipping away, pushing, taunting, dragging you to the edge of a cliff they crafted just for you. They believed that when the time came, you'd beg, plead, beg for justifications, explanations, excuses, whatever they decided to throw your way to keep you tethered. They were wrong. They were all wrong. For you see, there's a certain kind of strength that lives in silence, in the moments when you've had enough, in the moments when you've been hurt so deeply that you can no longer scream. The kind of strength that doesn't beg for mercy, but walks away. And that's exactly what you did. You didn't wait for the answers they promised. You didn't stay to hear their excuses. You were already set to leave long before they realized it, long before they understood that they had already lost you. That's the part they missed, the part they overlooked. They thought you were weak. They thought you were too afraid to walk away, too loyal to give up. They thought you would always stay, always endure, always bend and break for them, always remain tethered by some invisible thread they could control. But what they didn't understand, what they failed to see, is that they weren't holding on to you. No, it was you holding on to yourself. And once you realized your worth, once you saw the chains they tried to wrap around your life, something inside of you snapped. There's nothing more dangerous than someone who has had enough. When you reach the point where your heart no longer bleeds for validation, when you no longer crave recognition, when the desire to explain yourself disappears, you become free. You become a force they cannot stop, no matter how many times they try to pull you back in, no matter how many false promises they throw your way. For you had already made your peace. You had already decided that your life would not be defined by the way they saw it, by the way they tried to limit it. They underestimated you. They thought you were just another chapter in their book of control, another character they could manipulate, another soul they could break down and bend to their will. But you were never part of their story, were you? Number. You were the author of your own narrative, and when the time came, you closed the book. You walked away. You didn't need justifications because, deep down, you knew that some things don't require explanations. Some things simply don't deserve your time, your energy, or your love. Do you know what it feels like when the world thinks you're lost, but you're actually more found than you've ever been? It's a power few can comprehend. When you can look into the eyes of those who once held the power to make or break you and feel nothing but relief, it's liberating. It's a rebirth. They thought you were clinging to them, that you were begging for crumbs of their attention, their validation. They thought you would come crawling back when the truth finally sunk in. But here's the thing. You weren't lost. You weren't begging for their crumbs. You had already stepped into your own truth, your own power. There's a strange peace that comes when you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the green light from the people who thought they owned your path, the people who thought they could dictate your every move, your every choice, the people who believed their approval was the only thing that could sustain you. But that day never came, did it? The day you stopped waiting. You realized that your strength doesn't come from them. It comes from you. From knowing that you fought your battles and won every time you chose yourself. And when you choose yourself, you stop waiting for justification. You stop waiting for someone to explain your worth because you already know it. It's funny, isn't it? How those who think they have all the answers are often the ones who miss the most obvious truths. They thought you were weak, afraid, dependent. They thought you needed them. They thought you needed their approval to move on, to move forward. They thought they were the reason you stayed. They thought they were the reason you didn't walk away. But they missed something. They missed that your strength was never tied to them. Your strength was always in the freedom of knowing you were never truly theirs to begin with. Now, look at them. Look at the people who thought they had you in the palm of their hands. Watch as they scramble for answers, for justification, for a reason to hold on to someone they never truly understood. They'll wonder, as they always do, why you left without a word, without an explanation. They'll wonder why, after everything they did, you didn't beg for mercy. Why after everything, you didn't fight to stay. And here's the truth. It's because they never saw you for who you were. They never saw the quiet strength in you, the one that was always waiting for the moment to break free. They never knew what it meant to walk away with grace, with purpose, with certainty. And now they're left in their own silence, unable to answer their own questions. Because the truth is, they thought you needed them. They thought they were the key to your survival. They thought they could break you. But they never understood that the moment they tried to break you was the moment they set you free. You never begged for justification because you never needed it. The decision had already been made. You had already set yourself free. You were already gone. And now, as they watch you from a distance, they realize the truth they never saw coming. They realize that you were always the one in control. They realize that you didn't need them, that you never did. You were never desperate for their validation, never desperate for their explanations. You were only ever desperate for your own peace, your own truth. And when they couldn't give you that, you found it for yourself. You walked away because you realized that the only justification you ever needed was the one you gave yourself. They thought you would beg. They thought you would fall apart. But in the end, you stood tall. And now, as you look back, you realize that the greatest gift they ever gave you was the lesson that you didn't need them at all. You were already set to leave, long before they realized it. And that, my friends, is the most powerful kind of freedom. So let them wonder. Let them search for the justification they'll never find. You don't owe them anything. You've already given them everything they deserve. Your absence, your silence, your freedom. And that is more than enough. In the end, the truth is simple. You were always set to leave. You just needed to realize that you were the one who held the key. For so long, you let them convince you that the power resided in their hands. You let them dictate your every step, every decision, every choice, without ever questioning their authority over your life. It was a game they played with the skill of seasoned manipulators, pulling the strings while you were too blinded by loyalty, by the belief that you owed them something. You were convinced that your worth was measured by their acceptance, by their approval. They made you believe that without them, you were incomplete, lost, worthless. But in truth, they never held your key. They never had access to your true power. You did. It was always in you, hidden beneath the layers of self-doubt and fear they expertly sculpted. You see, they underestimated the depth of your spirit. They thought they could break you with their sharp words, their empty promises, their betrayal. But the truth is, they were never the ones who could define your strength. No matter how hard they tried to push you to the edge, to force you into a mold that didn't fit, you always had the power to shatter it. The key was never in their hands. It was always yours. But you had to be brave enough to realize it. They believed they could control your every move, your every thought. They thought you were bound by some invisible thread of guilt, that you'd never have the courage to sever it, that you'd always be the one holding on, afraid to let go. They thought they could keep you in a state of dependency, where you'd always feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your actions. But they never understood the depth of your inner fire, the one that burns brighter in silence, in the moments when you stop begging for answers and start demanding the truth from yourself. You gave them every chance to prove that they deserved your time, your energy, your loyalty. You gave them your patience, your love, your trust, hoping, praying that they would finally recognize the value in you. But every time they failed you, every time they hurt you, you grew a little more distant, a little stronger. You see, the key was always within you, waiting for the moment when you would unlock it and step into your own power. And the moment you realized it, everything changed. You stopped waiting for validation. You stopped hoping that they would change, that they would see your worth. You stopped begging for the things you already knew you deserved. You stopped seeking justification for your decisions, because deep down, you knew that your choices were always justified. There was nothing to explain, nothing to apologize for. The moment you took the key into your own hands, you unlocked the door to your own liberation. The moment you realized you held the key, you stopped waiting for the world to make sense. You stopped waiting for them to apologize, to make things right. Because in truth, they couldn't. No amount of words, no empty gestures could undo the damage they caused. The only thing that could set you free was the realization that you didn't need them anymore. The chains that bound you were all in your mind. And once you realized that, once you found the courage to unlock that door, the chains vanished. They were wrong. They were wrong about you from the very beginning. They thought they could break you, that you were weak, fragile, incapable of standing alone. They underestimated your resilience. They underestimated your heart. They thought they could chip away at your soul until there was nothing left. But the more they tried to tear you down, the more they pushed you towards your own awakening. They thought they were winning. They thought they were breaking you. But in reality, every hurt they inflicted, every betrayal, every word of doubt was only pushing you closer to the moment when you would finally see the truth. And when you saw it, you walked away. You took the key and you set yourself free. It's not easy, is it? To break free from the things that have held you captive for so long. To walk away from the people, the situations, the patterns that have shaped your life, even when they've caused you pain. It's not easy to realize that the key was always in your hands, that you had the power to change your life at any moment. But that's the beauty of it. You don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. You don't need anyone's approval to walk away from what no longer serves you. You are not bound by their expectations. You are not defined by their opinions. You are defined by your own strength, your own courage, your own will to live life on your own terms. And now that you've found the key, now that you've unlocked the door to your own freedom, the world looks different, doesn't it? The air is clearer, your mind is sharper, and your heart is lighter. You no longer carry the weight of their judgments or their lies. You no longer seek their approval or their validation. You've stepped into your own power, and there's nothing more dangerous than someone who knows their own worth. There's nothing more unstoppable than a person who has realized they are the master of their own destiny. When you hold the key to your own freedom, there's no force in the world that can hold you back. You become a force of nature. No matter how many times they try to pull you back in, no matter how many times they try to convince you to come back, you will never return to the person you were before. You are no longer bound by their lies, their manipulation, their control. You are free, and there is nothing more dangerous than a person who has tasted true freedom. They will never understand. They will never see the strength it took for you to walk away. They will never know what it feels like to realize that they were never the reason you stayed. They were never the reason you endured. They were never the reason you fought. You fought for yourself, for your peace, for your sanity. You fought for your own future. And when you realized the truth, that you were the one holding the key, you walked away, not in defeat, but in victory. Now, as you look back, You realized that the hardest part wasn't leaving them. It was realizing that you didn't need them. The hardest part wasn't walking away from the familiar. It was understanding that the only thing you ever needed to survive was already inside of you. The hardest part was realizing that you were never bound by their expectations, never tied to their approval. The hardest part was finally accepting that you were worthy of more than they could ever offer. And once you accepted that, everything else became easy. You no longer need their justifications. You no longer need their reasons, their excuses, their explanations. You don't owe them anything, because you've already given them everything they deserve, your absence. You've already given them the one thing they'll never understand, your silence. And that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. It is a testament to your strength, to your growth, to your unshakable belief in yourself. You were never weak. You were never dependent. You were never broken. You were always stronger than they could ever imagine. And now that you've realized it, now that you've taken the key and unlocked the door, there's no going back. You're free. And nothing, no one, can ever take that away from you. In the end, they thought they had you figured out. They thought you'd beg for justifications. But the truth is, you never needed their justifications. You already had everything you needed to set yourself free. You were always set to leave. You were always meant to walk away. And now, as you move forward into the next chapter of your life, you carry that truth with you. You hold the key, and you're free. Freedom is a powerful thing. It's not just the absence of chains or the end of a physical battle. It's the deep, resonating peace that fills the spaces within you. The kind of peace that comes when you no longer seek the approval of others, when you no longer crave validation from those who have treated you like an afterthought, when you finally see yourself for who you truly are, rather than through the lens of someone else's expectations. That is when you know you are free. They had their grip on you, didn't they? The ones who thought they could control you, manipulate you into being what they wanted, into staying longer than you should. They believed they could break you down piece by piece, that your resilience would wear thin with time. They thought if they just kept pushing, kept testing your boundaries, kept promising you things that were never truly delivered, you would stay. They thought you were weak, that you couldn't survive without their approval. But the truth is, they were afraid of your power all along. You see, there is something that terrifies the people who think they have control over you. Your ability to walk away. The moment you realize that you are not reliant on anyone or anything to define your worth, they are left with nothing but their own shadow. That's what they feared the most. The day you stop needing their justifications, stop craving their attention, stopped chasing their approval. Because when you stop depending on them, you are no longer in their power. You are free. And freedom, my friends, is more powerful than anything they could ever offer. Now that you are free, the world looks different, doesn't it? You see things with a clarity you never had before. You see the lies they told you, the manipulation, the false promises, the empty gestures they put in front of you like a shiny object meant to distract you from the truth. But no longer. No longer will you be distracted by their deceitful words. No longer will you be pulled back into their web of control. You've broken free from their influence, and that is a power that no one can ever take from you. The hardest part of this journey, though, was not walking away. It was realizing for the first time that you could walk away. It was accepting that the moment you stopped seeking their approval, stopped fighting for their acceptance, stopped justifying your worth to them, you would no longer be bound by their chains. It was the moment of truth that unlocked your soul. And once that truth set in, you couldn't unsee it. You couldn't go back to the person you were before. You couldn't pretend anymore that you needed them. You never did. There's a profound kind of freedom that comes with that realization. It's the kind of freedom that makes you feel like you can breathe again, the kind that fills you with energy and passion to take on whatever comes next. When you stop fighting for other people's recognition, when you stop clinging to things and people that were never meant to stay, your entire energy shifts. You are no longer weighed down by the constant pressure to meet expectations or to apologize for your existence. But let me make this clear. This is not about escaping from people. This is about reclaiming yourself. This is about discovering that your value was never dependent on how others treated you, but on how you treated yourself. You see, they wanted you to believe that you were incomplete, that you couldn't stand on your own, that you needed them in some way to survive. But the truth is, you were always complete. They just needed you to believe the lie. When you walk away from people who have treated you poorly, from toxic relationships or manipulative environments, you aren't just leaving them behind. You are leaving the version of yourself that once thought they were in charge of your destiny. You are leaving the part of you that felt you weren't strong enough to make it without them. You are leaving behind the idea that your worth is attached to anyone other than yourself. And in doing so, you begin to discover the power that has always existed inside of you. The power to choose, the power to say no when it no longer serves you, the power to walk away when they expect you to stay, the power to speak your truth without fear of rejection, the power to stand tall in your own skin and own your story, no matter what anyone else thinks. They thought you'd beg. They thought you'd fall to your knees, pleading for their forgiveness, begging them for a reason to stay, for a justification to explain your departure. They thought you would crumble, that the weight of leaving would be too much for you to bear. But here's the thing, they never understood you. They didn't understand that you had already made your peace long before the moment arrived. They didn't know that you were prepared to walk away because deep down, you knew the price of your own happiness was far greater than any comfort they could ever offer. Let them wonder. Let them ask themselves why you didn't beg, why you didn't fall into their trap. Let them search for answers that will never come. Let them twist in the wind, clinging to the illusion that they had power over you. Because, in truth, the moment you stopped begging for justifications, the moment you stopped looking for their approval, you started living for yourself. You started walking your own path, one that wasn't tied to their expectations or their false promises. And now, as you stand tall in your newfound freedom, they will try to pull you back in. They will reach out. They will say all the right things. They will try to make you feel guilty for leaving. They will attempt to make you believe that you can't make it on your own. But the truth is, they will never understand the strength it takes to walk away from something that no longer serves you. They will never know what it feels like to finally embrace the truth that the power was never in their hands, that the key was always yours. The key to your freedom is not in their apologies, not in their explanations, not in their justifications. The key to your freedom is in your ability to stand alone. It's in your ability to walk away when the people around you fail to see your worth. It's in your ability to say, I am enough, without needing anyone else to validate it. It's in your ability to release the need to explain yourself, to stop asking for permission to be who you are. The key to your freedom is in the realization that your happiness, your peace, your life is yours to control. And no one can take that from you unless you allow them to. And that is where your power lies. As you walk away from the toxic people, the manipulative systems, the harmful relationships, you don't walk away in defeat. You walk away in strength. You walk away because you understand that there's no reason to stay in a place that diminishes your light. You walk away because you understand that you deserve to be treated with respect, with kindness, with love. And when those things are not given freely, when you're expected to beg for them, to explain why you deserve them, then it's time to leave. You don't owe anyone that explanation. They will try to make you feel guilty for stepping into your power. They will try to make you feel like you are abandoning them, like you are betraying them. But the truth is, you are not abandoning them. You are abandoning the person they tried to turn you into, the person who needed to beg for their justification, who needed their approval, who needed to constantly prove their worth. And in walking away from that person, you embrace the truth of who you really are, someone who deserves to be treated with the respect and love that comes naturally when you live authentically. You are free, and that freedom is not something they can ever take away, because it is yours, it is inherent, it is part of who you are. It's the realization that you are in control of your own happiness, your own future. No one else has the power to define your worth. No one else can dictate your path. No one else can make you feel small or inferior, because in the end, you know your value, you know your worth. And the moment you realize that, no one else can make you feel anything less. The freedom to walk away, to leave behind the things that no longer serve you, to stop begging for explanations, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It is the key to living a life on your own terms. And now that you've unlocked that door, you can never go back. You have stepped into your own power. You are free, and nothing, no one, can ever take that away from you.